Welcome back to another IA Command video. It's Rivian once again, and today we'll be going over all the new Scum cards for Season 11. So, for this season, we have two completely new deployment cards in the Armor and Asajj Ventress, one slightly reworked Dengar, a reworked Explosive Armaments, and two new unique command cards for the Armor and Asajj. So, as you guys know, Dengar was previously reworked back in Season 10, after already a recost in previous seasons of IACP. I wasn't playing back then, so I don't know which one it is exactly. But his Season 10 iteration had him look like this, where his punishment ability meant that for any uncancelled surge, he could target a hostile figure within 2 spaces of the target of the attack, and give them a condition of their choice. This proved to actually be very oppressive, as anyone in, even close to the original figure was easily stunned or weakened or bleeding, all because of this card, Punishing Strike. This made Dengar into a conditioned machine, easily dishing out 2 stuns around and maybe a weaken or something. And since it was uncancelled surges, he didn't actually have to choose between dealing damage or his conditions. He could kind of do both. Especially with his +1 damage statically, his autofocus, and his good surges for +2 and blast 2, meant that he was kind of the whole package, didn't need too many resources, and was super oppressive. Some players liked the positioning challenge that it brought, and also the fact that he was a different figure in which he would really punish your opponents for grouping up and not playing around conditions well. However, while the idea was cool, the execution wasn't perfect, and it led to Dengar being quite the pain point for many players. So, in Season 11, we decided to pretty much rework him again, keeping the same theme but making it a bit more manageable. So we changed his +1 static for a +1 surge, took off his autofocus and gave him 3 dice, and now changed his ability to spread the pain. So for a surge, he can choose a harmful condition that hasn't already been chosen during this attack. After this attack resolves, if it did not miss, you may have a figure on or adjacent to the target space gain the chosen condition. This ability can be used multiple times per attack. So, what this means is that now instead of being a 2 space radius for his ability, it's a 1 space radius, meaning that you'll still be punished for clumping up your figures, but at least it won't feel impossible to position in tight choke points, such as around the terminals on Endor or near the tops of the corridors on ISB. Next up on the list is a new hybrid attacker support in the Armorer. So she's a 6-cost Guardian Leader with a surge for +1 Pierce 1, surge for Cleave 2, and a surge for gain a block token. Her abilities are Beskar Armor. After deployment, you gain 2 block tokens. This is the way. When another friendly figure resolves an attack, if the defender was defeated, the figure gains 1 block token. And finally, Survival is Strength. While a friendly figure within 3 spaces is defending, if it spent a block token during this attack, you may reroll 1 attack die. She's 9 health, speed 4, black die, and 3 green dice for her melee attack. So the Armor is a figure that I was really excited about, because I love all Mandalorians, whether it be Boba Fett, the Super Commandos, Jango Fett, or not Jango Fett, sorry, but the Mandalorian. And she fits really nicely in those lists. What I would say is the Armor's main ability is really Survival is Strength. It's not your typical defensive reroll, because it lets you reroll your opponent's die, meaning it's really good to get rid of some surges that they really want. In the best case scenario, you can make the attack miss off of accuracy, and in general, it makes your opponent's attacks much less consistent, while also, obviously, you have your block token. So it makes most of your fingers quite tanky. And she complements that really well by also providing some block tokens to your figures with This Is the Way. Keep in mind that this also is map-wide, so you don't have to be within 3 spaces for that one. though obviously you'll want to get close to her while defending. So far in testing, the armor was pretty solid in a lot of Mandalorian lists or lists that were running, CT, sometimes rank wars with extra armor. Really, any list that can produce tokens, she was really good. Her attack is also pretty solid, despite her being more of a supporty figure with the rest of her abilities. Though at 9 health for 6 cost, you don't always want to necessarily push her out into the open. So I was very pleased with this card, and it goes really well with her command card, which I guess I'll just show right now. Mandalorian Steel. So if it wants to show, okay, there it is. So use at the start of her round. During this round, after an attack resolves targeting a friendly figure, if it spent a block token during that attack, it recovers 1 damage for a 2 cost. So this was actually her original survival strength ability, but we decided it would fit better as a command card. This was a very potent ability, making your block tokens essentially like slightly better than 2 block tokens, because a recover obviously is better than block. But yeah, this really ups the tankiness of your list. If you can recur it somehow, it can be really insane. So definitely watch out for Mandalorian Steel in your games. I would definitely try and include it if you're running the armor and a token heavy list. Last for the deployment cards is Asajj Ventress. So most people will know Asajj Ventress from Clone Wars or from before the Imperial Assault era. However, for this version, we decided to go with her Bad Batch interpretation. So she's still this really quick lightsaber-wielding Force user, but she has her single lightsaber instead of the dual ones, and she's not quite like as assassin-y as she used to be. But we still tried to incorporate some of these elements into her design, notably in Nimble, which says that after an attack targeting you is resolved, gain 2 movement points for each of your evaded results. Her next ability is Consider It My Payment. So, at the start of your activation, your opponent reveals a command card from his hand. During this round, if the next command card played by that player does not have the same name as the revealed card, that player discards a copy of the revealed card or reveals a hand without any copies of that card. Whew, that's a lot of words. But essentially what this means is that Asajj can basically dictate what your opponent will play next, or at least punish them for not sequencing correctly or thinking about what will come next. So it either gives you information or makes your opponent discard a card if they don't play the revealed card. In testing so far, this has been a pretty strong ability, really making your opponent think about what's going to happen and have to make tough decisions. It's especially good if you go early in the round, and if your opponent doesn't show a defensive command card, well then you're free to attack without or at least they'll be punished for for playing a defensive command card that they didn't show. It's also really good if they showed a defensive command card, so then you can move close to brawlers, and then if they parting blow you, they'll have to discard the defensive command card. So there's a lot of technicalities and use cases for this, and so far it's been a pretty cool ability. She's also 12th health, 5 speed, a white dice, a triple yellow attack pool, which is the first time we've done this in IACP. While that may seem very swingy, we tried to make up for it with Professional, which gives her much needed reroll, and also 2 surges for +2 damage and a surge for Pierce 3. We kind of wanted this figure to be really good into stacked evades and into white dice. So obviously she can't reroll like a dodge, but there's been an uprising in defensive stacking lists currently, which with C3PO and defensive cards like Parry and stuff like that. And she's really good at cutting through those defenses because she gets so many surges that she'll always get the ones that she needs, whether it's the +2 or the Pierce 3 or all of the above. And she also can fuel her Nimble ability by gaining an evade token, so that's really good. Combined with her 5 speed, this actually makes her quite a slippery target because it's easy for her to move 5, attack, and then leave her in like a somewhat open position, but if you don't kill her on the attack or stun her, she can easily just move away and then go back to cover or force you into overextending to attack her again and finish her off. So far, I think Asajj Ventress has been really cool. Also, with Force User and Hunter cards, she's able to gap close with stuff like Force Rush, and then really deal a lot of damage with the Hunter cards. So, like, Tools is really good on her. Well, obviously, it's good on any Hunter, but, you know, to guarantee the surges or just push raw damage through, since she already has amazing surges. So yeah, I've been liking Asajj quite a lot. She's actually probably my most played figure out of these, out of the new testing cards. I've been playing her a lot in like a melee hunter list, which really just tries to push damage through, and she's been great at it. So I'm excited to see what people do, especially like playing around Consider My Payment. It's quite complex and has a lot of depth to it, so it'll be interesting to see that in action in tournaments. I'll go right ahead into her card, which is No Cheating. So, if I can get it, there you go. So, for 1 cost, use at the start of the activation of a hostile figure in your line of sight. During this round, that figure's attack type becomes melee, and when it declares an attack, it removes 1 attack die from its attack pool. So this is a really cool defensive trick that you can use with Asajj, meaning that at the end of your activation, you can really punish some ranged lists. So stuff like 9 activation Han, you can just make sure Han can't really attack or do his thing, and you can freely shoot at him. Then even just removing a die off something like Vader, or this is obviously especially good against the ATST, which if it has melee can't actually attack because of awkward. But yeah, in general, just a super solid defensive trick. Haven't seen it played too much. I haven't drawn it every game, obviously, but yeah, this one might be susceptible to some tweaks if we see that it's too oppressive against certain figures, or if the cost is too low, since in its current form, it can be recurred by Afra. But yeah. A lot of melee or Scum hunters, like, they're just damage, but we tried to give her some, you know, some defensive tricks with Consider My Payments and No Cheating, so she's definitely a bit different to our regular hunters. So finally, we'll go over Explosive Armaments. So this has been a famously, like, unusable card in Imperial Assault, because it used to cost 2 surges for +1 blast 2. This was really big ass, considering that it didn't actually increase your single target damage like almost whatsoever for most hunters, especially not the 2 blasts, since you're usually sacrificing other surges. And it kind of like, it made it really hard to justify costing 1 more, like costing a point. We decided to fix that by changing it to 1 surge for +1 blast 1, and then an exhaust to apply blast 1 for free. We changed this this way because we didn't want sentry droids to abuse this too much. The first iteration was that it was 1 surge for +1 blast 2. That meant that the sentry droids with their multi-fire could just easily get blast 8 in a round, or blast 6 or whatever. HKs would also just do blast 4, and it was a bit ridiculous. So this way, single target or single attack cards won't get affected by the change at all. It'll still just be basically 1 surge for +1 blast 2, since you can exhaust the blast. It also means that if you don't get any surges, you can still blast 1, which is nice. But also, multi-attackers don't just go absolutely crazy with this card. So this has been really fun so far in its new version. It can give better surges to things like BT, who didn't have incredible surges. Again, the sentry droids, who tend to surge a lot, really like this card. And then even some single target hunters like Dengar. Dengar probably really likes this, since he surges a lot. His blast was removed from his accuracy surge, so this is a way to get it back, and also give him a bonus surge for damage. So yeah, I think this is a cool card, and I'm excited to see it play more, since it definitely deserves its time in the spotlight. So, that about covers it for our Scum deployment cards, or our new Scum cards for Season 11. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as well. I will try to make the Rebel one and also the neutral command cards pretty soon. But yeah, let me know in the comments so far what is the card that you're most hyped to play about in Season 11, and I'll be happy to read all your comments. So, thank you everyone, have a nice day, and I hope to see you soon in the next video.